And we're recording. Still have a few more people.
Oh, I see there are 40 people. That's why.
And there's still more people coming. All right, so over into the comment section,
presenting it all.
you should be able to see that you should be able to see the link to our agenda. And let me see, people, participants.
How many people are coming on my phone?
Yes. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and present our agenda now so that you can follow along with us. And let's see, share screen. And you should be able to see it now. Otherwise, you can follow the link in the comment section and continue on. So we've had our call to order. So we currently have an opportunity for some new school board members, and we as an HDC would like to recommend Dr. Jerome Ross for the school board. He's in Angela Kelly Wiesik's district. So if you can reach out to your supervisors, feel free to reach, whether you're in that district or not, because the school board represents all of the Hanover County students. And given the tone, given the events right now, I think it's real important that we have school board members that are sensitive to all of our students. I know you see a lot of protests and demonstrations going on, and you may wonder where we stand on some of those things. Unfortunately, with a lot of those, it's not clear who's leading them. And so that's why we haven't, as a committee, shared things, because if we don't know who's leading them and what their full mission is and who they're representing, it's a little confusing with that. But make no mistake, as an HCC, we fully support the Black Lives Matter, and it is important. And I want to speak to that just for a moment, because I did view the protest they did at the school board office on Facebook Live, and I'm going to steal someone's words, but I think the words are valuable. So the lady stood up and she said she wanted to explain what it means to say Black Lives Matter and how it could be offensive to people when they hear all lives matter afterwards. And so I'm just going to share real quickly her speech. She said, when a wife asks her husband, "Do you love me?" and he says, "Well, I love everybody." Well, that may be true, but it might not be sensitive to the wife in that moment to say that. And when a friend says, "Hey, I just lost my dad," and the friend turns back and says, "Well, all dads die," well, that may be true, but in the moment it's insensitive. So when community members are hurting and they say, "Hey, our lives matter," while it may be true to say all lives matter, in that moment, we need to be sensitive to certain groups. So I'll leave it at that. I know we have our guest speaker who's going to probably talk more in depth, but I just wanted to share that because I thought it was hitting me pretty hard and it was quite valuable. I don't know if all of them are here, but we have some scholarship winners, and I want to turn this over to Andrea Ferment. Let me see if I can unmute her. Stop share. And where are you? Unmute. I have unmuted you. Now you have to unmute yourself. There you go.
I think I did it. Can you hear me?
Yay.
Can you hear me, Dan?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Andrea Ferment, for those of you who don't know me, and I took over the scholarship committee from Lynn Hodnett, who did it for many years and was fabulous. So thank you, Lynn, for all your service in doing the scholarships before. For those of you who don't know, the scholarship that we do is in memory of Melissa Dopp. Melissa was a longtime activist in the Hanover County Democratic Committee and a person I knew well and miss very much. And also Bobby Ostergren, who was the Hanover County Registrar for many years. The scholarship is given to graduating Hanover County seniors who have the highest level of participation in Democratic campaigns and activities. And it's been given for quite a few years now. And There were some major donors this year who supplied money for our scholarships, and those were Howard Ostergren and Carolyn Wagaman. So we wanted to recognize them and thank them for their donations towards the scholarship fund. So I believe that's most of the background. So getting to our winners this year, and I don't know if Valerie's on the call. Can you tell, Dan?
I will check. I saw Nyla, but I don't recall seeing Valerie.
Or Daniel?
Yes.
Is Daniel on? I'm sorry,
checking.
Daniel Richardson was the runner-up. Is he on the call?
I am checking. I am unmuting Nyla right now.
Hi, Nyla.
Oh,
Okay.
hi.
Okay, then I'll go ahead. Our first place scholarship winner this year was Valerie, and I will not be able to say her name correctly, probably not. It's Skerbakova. Valerie was awarded a $1,000 scholarship from the Dems. Valerie graduated from Hanover High last week. I think they did the graduations in the county. She will be going to VCU. And Valerie worked on the campaign for Bernie Sanders, doing canvassing for that national campaign. She also worked on Morgan Goodman's campaign for the House of Delegates in 2019. And Valerie was the president of the Young Dems of Hanover High School. So lots of great accomplishments there. And then luckily we have with us Nyla. Nyla was one of our two runners up. Nyla won $500 for the Hanover Dems. She graduated from Atlee High School last week, right, Nyla? She's going to be going to VCU, and Nyla worked for the campaigns of Kevin Washington in 2019, his run for the House of Delegates, and for the campaign of Crystal Robins, who was running for Hanover County Supervisor. Nyla, did you want to say anything while you're here?
I just want to thank you guys for choosing me. It's a pleasure.
Really, really happy to do so. Thank you so much for your work at your high school through the Young Dems and through local campaigns. It's so important, and it's really heartening to see, and especially now too, all the young people who are becoming more and more involved. So thank you, Nyla. And then we had a second person receiving a runner-up scholarship, and that was Daniel Richardson. Daniel also received $500. Daniel was a graduate of Hanover High. He's going to be attending Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Daytona Beach, Florida. And Daniel worked as a Hanover County election page for 2018 and 2019, and is also an active member of the Young Dems club at Hanover High School. So congratulations to all of them and for their accomplishments and for their graduation. I wish we could be doing this in person and handing those checks directly to y'all, but anyways, congratulations and good luck in the future. All right, Dan, mute me.
Thank you for that. I also want to recognize who's on our call as well. Is we have Supervisor Faye Pritchett, who has joined us, which I'm really excited to have her on with us. Previous Mayor Jim Foley and current council member John Hodges. And if I'm missing other people, please let me know through the group chat or whatever. But I'm really excited to have such a wide variety of representation on our call. So that's really good. And so moving on to some of our other agenda items. So if you get the paper, or if you're not, you can search these up. We have a lot of letters to the editors. I put in one. Harold Ackerman put in one. Sandra Howard, the chair of our Black Caucus, put in one. These were all in the Times-Dispatch. Penelope Fleming got correspondence of the day, and it was a great read. I think she was in on Tuesday or Wednesday. The great thing about the Richmond Times-Dispatch is, even if you're not a subscriber, they put their letters to the editor up there for anyone to see. So you can just Google search Richmond Times-Dispatch letters to the editor, and it'll come up, and they can go back and read. They're very good articles in there. And so we now have our guest speaker who's going to talk about the suppression of speech that has been going on, and he's going to talk about school names. So Robert Barnett is our president of the Hanover NAACP. He's also the president of Virginia NAACP. That's the National Association, National Advancement. I don't know. I'm going to say it wrong. National. I'll let him say it. I'm going to mess it up. So anyway, Robert, he's laughing at me. I've unmuted you. The floor is yours, sir. I greatly appreciate you being on the call, and please give us updates and anything else you want to discuss.
Okay, thank you, Dan, and good morning to the Hanover Democrats. It's good to have a chance to talk to you about some important issues that's going on in Hanover. But first, I'd like to recognize the best Board of Supervisor representative I know is Faye Pritchett, and she's doing an excellent job. I don't get to say that too often, so I'm going to say it while I can. Okay. Also like to recognize John Hodges doing great work on the Ashland Town Council, and also like to recognize Dan as well, doing a great job, HTC chair, and all the other Democrats on the line, especially Stan. Keep fighting. The fight is not over. We'll get there. But first, let me just open by saying we are now confronted with at least two pandemics: the pandemic of COVID-19 and the pandemic of racism. As you know, we've been in the COVID-19 pandemic for 2.5, going on 3 months. But the pandemic of racism has been here for centuries. And so now it's time, due to the unfortunate murder of George Floyd, that the pandemic of racism has permeated our nation and our county. And so we, the NAACP in Hanover, has been petitioning the school board to change the names of Lee Davis High School and Stonewall Jackson High Schools. These names are symbols of racism and white supremacy. Everybody knows that. The only issue with regards to not doing it is to some folks say erasing history, but that's incorrect. We're not trying to erase anybody's history. All history matters, or all history matters. And so we have taken this to court, and Judge Payne decided to deny the case totally. And so we have, in just 2 days ago, filed a notice of appeal. And so we are working on that appeal as we speak. Also, we have reached out to many of you in the community with regards to supporting the renaming. Just a few days ago, a student at Lee Davis put out a petition and have gotten over 17,000 signatures to rename Lee Davis High School and Stonewall Jackson. And so a magnificent effort, not by folks in our organization, but by a student there at Lee Davis. Also, one of the things that we are still advocating for is the school board to hire more African-American faculty. Some of this systemic racism that has permeated our schools deals with not having enough role models in the school for African-Americans to see. They can't see themselves in the school system. And so when that happens, things doesn't get looked at from different lenses. And so we are advocating for more African Americans in the school system. And as you know, as Dan mentioned, the Chickahominy district, we have an African American Dr. Jerome Ross, who is a professional educator. He speaks fluent Hebrew, is a pastor of Providence Park Baptist Church in Richmond. Also, he's an adjunct professor at Virginia Union, and he has taught religious theology at Randolph-Macon College. And so just an active individual that lives in the Chickahominy district. And so we are, as the NAACP, we can't endorse him, but we want you to know his qualifications and that he is one that has educational ability to do the job. And so with that, I'd like to not continue on, but I'd like to get questions from you all that we might answer. And just before I do that, I want to make sure that we do have a platform for our criminal justice side of the issue. We want to make sure that our law enforcement ban the use of knee holds and choke holds. We want to make sure that they have a use of force continuum that at least has 6 steps in the escalation of violence. We want to make sure that they have open records so that we can see if any misconduct with officers or disciplinary actions, that they are out and transparent to the public. And finally, we want to make sure that there's a citizens review board with subpoena power that can take care of business if that is needed. And so with that, Dan, I'd like to answer any questions anybody might have.
All right, so I'm going to take a chance and try the same way we did last time, which is I'm going to unmute everybody and see if that works, if we can still have good conversations and people don't get spoken over. If it becomes a little too hectic and too many people are trying to talk at once, I'll just mute everybody again, and then we'll turn to just the chat feature. People can just say in the chat, let me speak, let me speak. But I'd rather it be more organic, and so with that, I am getting ready to unmute all. And I have just unmuted everyone. So if you are muted, you can click unmute and speak, and then mute yourself again after you've asked your question.
Robert.
Yes.
Good morning. This is Jim Foley. How are you doing today?
Fine, Jim. How are you?
Great. Great to hear from you. Hey, I know the school board is having a special meeting. Do we have any sense that they're actually going to finally change in the near future? I'm not suggesting we let off the gas, but do we have any indications that they're about to do the right thing?
Well, some people, Jim, I'm glad you asked that question. Some people think so, but I told them I've been down this road before, and so I wouldn't be too optimistic until the vote is in. So we've been down this road before, but we're optimistic that being that more pressure has been applied due to the unfortunate murder of George Floyd, that this might turn out different. We hope so.
Thank you.
Robert, Don Barth, how you doing?
Just fine. How are you?
Good. Is there anything being done locally, meaning with the county or the town of Ashland, in regards to what we're trying to do with Black Lives Matter and the things that we're trying to get the police to do?
Yes, I believe there has been several protests, peaceful protests and demonstrations at the school board office there in Ashland. We have been supportive, but we have not sponsored any of those particular events.
Have there been any meetings or whatever with either the county or the town of Ashland to try with the police or whoever it is to try to get a dialogue going?
Oh, yes. We have frequent meetings with the the chief of police in Ashland and the sheriff on a regular basis. So these items I just talked about, they're not new to the law enforcement community here in Hanover. They know all about them. We've
Thank you.
talked about them, and we have expressed our desires.
I was curious. My daughters and I, I moved here 13 years ago and have consistently noticed the absolute racism of the Hanover County Police Department and how they will pull over when they've pulled someone over. You know, there's one police officer if it's a white person, but there's 2 or 3 if it's a brown or black person. And we would like to do something about it, but we're also chickens and rule followers. So I've been trying to think of ways to like protest, or I don't know, like my daughters have had the idea that we can just pull over and be there to observe. But again, I'm afraid the police would then come up to us and be like, get out of here. So is there anything that you know of? And I don't know if this oversteps the bounds of what this conversation is supposed to be. So if it is, I apologize, but we would love to do something in that arena.
Okay. First of all, that has been brought to the sheriff's attention and Chief Goodman's attention. And so if I were you, I would write the sheriff and let him know your concerns and even have a meeting with him. He'll sit down with you and show you the statistics and maybe explain to you why that is not racial profiling.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure if I can handle that conversation.
I have a question. This is
Yes.
Terry Diebold. For Robert, do you happen to know, one, how much money the school board has spent defending their racism with the schools, not renaming the schools? And number 2, where does that money come from?
Okay, what I've read from articles in the paper is that they have spent, and Faye probably could chime in on this more so than I can, but at least $275,000. That money comes from a contingency fund, I believe, but I'm not sure on that. Faye may want to chime in on that. Unmute, Faye.
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for being here. So there have been three different takes on money. One is the county and the school board are both insured separately through VMLIB, which is a local I don't know the right word for it, but it's a local insurance pool that localities buy into, and the school board was insured for $100,000 for events like this, and say the first $100,000 came from that. The rest has come out of contingency funds for the county. Just to make everybody aware, those contingency funds, the usage of those has to be voted on. The usage is, yes, I do. No, it's me. I'm trying to get some of our stuff out. Sorry. Anyways, there has to be voted on to use the contingency funds, and it was a 6-to-1 vote. I am the only one who voted against that. And Angela Kelly Wiesek indicated at that time that she would not vote for any further funds, but that's what's happened.
Thank you, Faye.
Sorry.
That's okay.
But know that I will not vote for one dime to go to this.
So how much,
Can y'all hear me?
have we spent so far?
How much
how much was it? How much did we spend on the contingency?
The vote for contingency was for $70,000.
Thank you.
And that's the one I voted against. The insurance money came directly from the insurance company.
So there's another 100,000 that we the taxpayers pay for, I guess.
So Rachel, who follows these things as closely as I do, said 270,000. There was originally, when the county and the school board were being sued, both entities were being sued. Each of those entities has $100,000 in insurance. I don't know that the county's insurance money was ever used for that, because the county sued to be made not part of the suit, and the suit was just the school board. So I'm not sure if that second $100,000 was ever spent, but I know that there has been $100,000 in insurance money from the school board and $70,000 in contingency money that has been allotted, if not necessarily spent.
And real quick on the budget impact. So the 75,000 that they approved in February was to get them through, get the county through to June 30th, which is the end of the fiscal year. And because the decision is being appealed, there will be costs in fiscal year 21, which starts on July 1st. So if the school board wishes to continue the lawsuit, we'll have to ask the Board of Supervisors again to approve more funds from the contingency fund. So we'll be keeping a close eye on when and if they make those requests, and make sure everybody's aware if those requests come through.
And I agree with everything that Jamie just said, except that I do not believe that the entire $70,000 that was already voted for, I don't believe that entire $70,000 has been spent. Now, of course, if the school names were changed, none of that money would have to be spent.
That's correct.
Carrie.
Yes, go ahead. Restate your question.
I think that might have been background noise, Robert.
Oh, okay.
So
Next
Robert, Mr. President.
How you doing, Ms. Vice President?
How you doing, sir? There is a peaceful protest plan for Juneteenth. Are we supporting that? I know as the NAACP, we cannot endorse it, but would you speak to supporting that?
Yes, the NAACP can support peaceful protests individually. Now, if we sponsor a peaceful protest, there are things we have to do on a national level. For instance, we have to get the okay from our general counsel, president, and CEO. A couple things that we do when we do that is to make sure that, number one, the health and safety of the protesters can be looked at, and the decision made that no harm, if all things are carried out, will happen to them. The next thing we got to look at, can manage the social distancing policies and rules that have been enacted by our governor. And third thing we must make sure is that if we're using the roads or highways, that proper traffic and stuff like that have been taken care of. So it's an in-depth process, though it is one that ensures the safety of all individuals that are participating. Thank you for the question.
Robert, I have a question.
Yes.
Would it be, I feel like I know the answer, but would it be helpful if we so choose as individuals to join the Hanover NAACP and put, you know, our resources towards that and take a more active role? Or somebody like KC that asked how she could participate, would that be something that you would encourage?
Yes, I would welcome everyone joining the Hanover NAACP. Can go
Could
to
you send the link? Could you send
naacp.org.
the link to Dan?
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, could you send the link again to Dan, maybe?
Sure,
just
yes, I
posted
can
the
send
link
the
in the
link to
chat,
Dan.
Okay,
Ashley.
okay.
Okay.
I just wanted, I know that, I just feel like that's something that I would like to do, and I wanted to bring it up to everybody if they were interested in doing it.
That's great. And I also, while you did bring that subject up, I'd like to point everyone to our Facebook page. We have upgraded it, start putting additional information out there. We have seen a tremendous increase in traffic going to our Facebook page. So please check it out and make sure that if you have something to say, put it out there. We have students that have never been forceful in this topic and other topics, putting their comments on Facebook. And again, that's a way that they can put their voices or have their voices heard. Now, I can tell you the school administration does not like students putting that information out there. But again, this is a social media page and they can't stop it. Another question.
Daniel, I'm sorry. This is Andrea Ferment, and I taught in Hanover County for I think about 28 years. I'm just retired a few years ago, and I taught at Gandy Elementary School for 20. And I know in all my years there was never more than one African American teacher on the staff, and there were years when there weren't any, which always bothered me. What does Hanover County say to you all when you ask about why we don't have more diversity in our teachers?
Well, first of all, they tell us that they can't find any. And then we send folks to the county that are qualified and have the necessary qualification, but they're still not hired. So the last time we got the data from Hanover County, as far as African-American faculty, it was 4%. 4%. Our African-American student population is over 9%. And so we are just, I guess, disappointed in the leadership that the Hanover County School Board, who is in charge of hiring, has demonstrated thus far. That's why we need new leadership, new folks on the board that will listen to our concerns.
Mr. President, I'd also like to state that recently when the note came out from the principal of Hanover High, that had a less than empathetic characteristic about it regarding speaking up. We've also had one from Principal Martinez at Patrick Henry that gave his faculty and students the right to speak their minds on these issues and said he would not stand in their way. And I also heard that Dr. Ballard at Stonewall had a similar meeting with his faculty where one lady, one of the teachers characterized it as bringing her to tears with his empathy and their statements regarding the faculty's ability to state their own ideas and what they believe to be right. So at least we have some of our principals standing now and agreeing. We not just going along with school board rhetoric.
Yes, thank you so much. And it's very interesting because just yesterday we heard from the principal of Lee Davis, and he indicated that his faculty and staff should send their concerns to the school board. And so they are having a difficult issue with trying to control speech in the schools. Very difficult. And if they would just allow the student voices to be heard, things may get a little bit better. But when they try to control speech, things will not turn out the way that they want them to. I can assure you.
Well, thank you,
Next
Robert.
question.
Well, I want to continue these questions, but I also want to make sure I cover our agenda. So,
Okay.
Robert, if you and other people won't mind, I'd like to go ahead with the rest of the agenda.
Sure.
Adjourn the meeting, stop recording, and then stay on for as long as people want to stay on.
I'll be glad to do that.
Okay, that's awesome, because I think these are timely topics, very important discussions, and greatly appreciate all that you and other leaders in the community are. Also want to recognize Ola Hawkins is in on our meeting. She's a school board member, and I don't know what her timetable is, but if she has a few minutes after our meeting to discuss things, I think that'd be great. It's a great opportunity as well. Is there anyone from the Mark Warner campaign on here? Okay, well, he's unopposed in the primary, so he's most likely going to be out on the ballot for us in the fall. On June 23rd, just a reminder, we do have the primary coming up, and we have two candidates, Qasim Rashid and Levangeline, also known as Vanjie Williams. Is there anyone from the Qasim campaign?
Dan, this is Stan. I can speak for Qasim a little bit.
All right.
I'd just like to tell everyone that Qasim and I basically spent last week going to different rallies and marches. We participated in one in Montrose together, and I stopped off at Tappahannock on the way back with the Essex County Committee, where they had a small gathering. Qasim also came to the school board rally here in Hanover County last week on Tuesday. He's been doing a lot of these, and we're just continuing to try to push forward to the primary date. Next week, we're going to have a veteran town hall on Tuesday afternoon. I think it's the 16th, and on Wednesday, he's right now planning to do a roundtable on this subject, on police violence, racism, and those kinds of things. As you all know, I've spoken out quite a bit on this, and I'm really happy to see that Qasim and I share the view that it's really time to change the design of the system, because the system is designed to help people who look like me and hold other people who look like Robert, back. And that needs to change. We need to dig it out by the roots and change the whole thing. And Qasim is on board with that. So I'm asking all of you to support Qasim Rashid in the primary. You can get your mail-in ballot or vote. The last day to vote absentee in person is the Saturday before, as I'm sure most of you know. So thanks for giving me a couple minutes there, Dan. Appreciate it.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Anyone from the Vanjie campaign? Okay, so now I'm moving on to some new members. There are people who joined us, but I hadn't had a chance to get them voted in. So I'm going to read off our new members. And for those of you who are on, we renew our membership every 2 years. So that happened this past December. Some of you, may not have re-upped, but we would greatly appreciate if you go on and to our website and either download the application or you can do it online. But anyway, new members or re-upped members, if you will, Bill Parks, Harold 14, Teresa 14, Martha King Anderson, Lee Hargrave, Annette Sarika, Ray Grodin III, and Alyssa Pooler. Do I have a motion to accept the new members?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, so is there any new business before us? All right, not seeing any new business. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn, so we will stop recording